Hello, friends and beautiful people. Welcome back. Welcome into day 2 of time bending and time jumping. Today we're going to explore something really fun. Going to be more experiential today. Hi James, welcome back. Let's see who else is going to jump on. Kathryn's here. Hello. I am still really nasal, at least. We've got blue skies and sunshine today, so what a blessing that is. But my heart goes out to people just 20 miles from where I live, in both directions actually. In a couple different directions, 20 miles of where I live, there are people really suffering with these wildfires. Perhaps in exchange for this information during this event, you could send some prayers this way. The entire West is just burning up. I feel very lucky today. My dog is very lucky today because we're going to be able to go out in the woods today after and get the fresh air and sunshine, which is something we haven't had in a bit. And I need it. I need my forest fix. Okay, let's see. Who's here? Say hello. Let me know you're here. Hopefully you had, oh, there I am, had fun with day 1. Hi, Amy. Hi, Sarah. Mary. Hey, everybody. Now I can see your comments. So hopefully yesterday you got to watch the replay. If you weren't with us live yesterday, you can search the Global Acceleration group with hashtag time bending and get yesterday's video. These replays are only going to be up for a few days in the group. They will be taken down on Sunday. So if you want to have longer access to these, well, they're on my YouTube channel at Kathryn Massell. But you can also, if you're signed up to my email list, have them sent directly to your email. Easy peasy, all in one place. I'm going to send them out Friday evening, all 3 days of these replays. So you'll have them and you can watch them again. Use the tools that are in here and get some awesome benefits from them. Yes, thank you, Sarah. Sarah, who is also on the West Coast. We're really struggling out here right now. It's tough, really tough. So yesterday, I gave you a bit of a breakdown in what's the skinny on how humans create time in 3D, how humans are the keepers, pardon me, of the 3D realm, reality realm. And as keepers, we design the paradigms and structures here. That includes time. That includes our newfound understanding of linear time actually being more of a closed consciousness loop rather than being a linear continuum, although we can have kind of a tangible understanding of time as linear when we start looking at the emotional anchor that we drop in order to punctuate the flow of time. This was all discussed in day 1. This was discussed yesterday. Hi, Shantae. And so you can go back to that and watch all that. It's also on my YouTube channel. And if you want the replay sent to you, just go to kathrynmassell.com and sign up on my homepage, and you'll have these emails sent to you Friday night. We also yesterday got some instruction on how to bend time, how to stretch it, expand it, which is known as harmonic time expansion, and how to compress it or contract it, which is known as harmonic time compression. And when you compress time, you can have the experience of time speeding up. And when you stretch time, you have the experience of time slowing down. This doesn't mean that time is speeding up or slowing down. It means that your impression and your experience of it through psychological time, because we deal with time in two ways: physical time, which is clock time, calendar time, the time that takes the earth to revolve around the sun, that's physical time. But we have psychological time, which is our felt or known experience of time. And as we know, there is no experience that exists outside of us. So take that in. There is nothing you experience that is outside of you. Okay? So time is an experience. And time is alchemical. Alchemical in the sense that it can be stretched, it can be manipulated, it can be navigated differently. We can control the time fields in different ways based on our level of attention, awareness, and focus. Because as we discussed yesterday, awareness is everything. And so remote viewing a timeline is really no different. Now, some of you get thrown off by the term remote viewing. This can be something that feels really big and kind of out there. Remote viewing, it seems like something that's relegated to only a few people who might know how to do this, and it's really involved and tricky. Not the way that I'm going to share it with you today. Can it be involved and tricky? Absolutely. So maybe you guys are familiar with a movie that came out, it came out somewhere in the 90s, called The Men Who Stare at Goats, or Men Who Stare at Goats, which is based on, loosely, the movie's loosely based on, but this was an actual military, secret military exercise and process called controlled remote viewing. You can actually take a course, which is the military instructional course for controlled remote viewing that was shared and played with in the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats. This was an actual thing until, well, at least the government that we know about shut it down. It's still happening, but it's happening now as something that was auctioned off to the highest bidder. And like a lot of things in the military-industrial complex, went deep underground. But controlled remote viewing is an actual training that you can actually undertake. I have taken it. And I share some controlled remote viewing with my members who are in the level 2 of my Timelines Expanded Masterclass. We go into the more involved controlled remote viewing. That is the training, the military training that was actually shared in the 80s in this special program in the US military. The Russians used it too. So if you want to know more about that, just Google controlled remote viewing. And that can be really, there's a lot of steps involved, and it is very, very convoluted. And it does take some training and some dedication. But there's a common denominator to remote viewing, whether you're doing it the way that I'm going to share it with you here today, or you're doing it in the controlled remote viewing training, that is a militarized training. There's a common denominator there. And that is your awareness, your ability to focus and be attentive to a potential, and giving it your all in terms of what you're willing to focus on. Close everything else out, shut everything else down, shut out the ego's need to try to control or manipulate what you are focusing on or being attentive to. This takes practice, okay? So whether you're doing the more military training of remote viewing, or whether you're just doing it like I'm going to share it with you today, which is something that I share with my members of Timelines Expanded Masterclass, which, by the way, there's a temporary price drop on that. So if you like what I'm sharing over these 3 days and you want to get in on the next live round, which will be in January of 2022, where I'm going to be sharing new content, new material. Some of the old stuff will stay, but there's going to be new material, new modules, new content added. That's very exciting. I talked about it a little bit yesterday. If you sign up at this temporary price drop now, not only do you get all the replays that are current from our last live round, that was at the beginning of this year, those will be available through the end of 2021, but you also reserve a seat for yourself in the live upcoming program in January 2022. So you get to go through the program live with all of us. There is really nothing else like this program in terms of an all-in-one place look at merging timelines, compressing timelines, collapsing timelines, collapsing planetary timelines, false timelines, a deep dive into looking at false timelines and the false ascension matrix. A lot of study of timelines leaves this out, and that's a huge deficit, because if we don't understand where we've been navigating in false timelines, we don't really truly understand our human nature. Collapsing timelines, merging timelines, quantum jumping time, ancestral timelines and the DNA, how time and the DNA and our time codes in our DNA affect our reality and will affect our ascension process going forward, is affecting our ascension process going forward. All of this in one place. That's Timelines Expanded Masterclass. It is very comprehensive and it's spiritually advanced, I would say. And if you want to get in on this program, this is the time to do it. The temporary price drop ends on the 25th. So jump in there now. You won't be sorry. So with the remote viewing, in order to break this down in a way where it becomes a little easier to understand, and again, I can explain this stuff until the cows come home, but it's better to have an experience of time, wouldn't you say? Because our tangible understanding of time is experiential. So when we are going to play with this today, you're going to go into a place where I'm going to guide you through a remote viewing process of looking at timelines. And we always need a focus. We need a fixed point of attention. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. So the best way to create a fixed point of attention, especially when remote viewing timeline potentials, is to work with a desire. In the controlled remote viewing, you would call it a target. So your target or your fixed point that you're going to work with today is your desire. Your desire for what it is that you want to create right now. Is there something that you're feeling that you want to step into? It could be a new skill set you want to possess. It could be a way of being in your life. Something on a superficial level that you would have, a physical object. And you want to have the connection of feeling yourself having it, knowing yourself doing it, having it, being it, etc. Remember what I talked about yesterday, that anytime you have an awareness of a certain potential, it is meant for you. We don't have awareness of anything that isn't meant for us, okay? Hi, Heidi. So even if you have a desire that feels really lofty, feels really out there, it feels just like, this could never be me, I've never had this, no one I know or in my family has ever had this, blah, 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 blah. That's your ego talking. And if you are talking about infinite potentials and multidimensional aspects of you, your ego has no business giving its say-so on any of that. Because the ego only has the ability to give you information on what is known. Meaning a potential that you've actually lived through, already experienced, and had a tangible connection with here in the 3D Earth space, okay? Your ego only has the ability to give feedback on what is known. So if you're looking for some kind of feedback from the ego to tell you about something you have not explored yet, a potential that feels lofty, a higher ideal, a higher idealized version of you that you have not physically explored yet in this 3D time-space experience, you have no business whatsoever listening to your ego. None. Zero. Big fat donut hole. Zip. Nada. Because the ego has no information to offer you there. So whenever we are working with timelines, when we are working with higher potentials, we are working with timelines that have not yet been grounded into physical 3D reality, you must work with a different aspect of self. And we introduced you yesterday to your God self, in which we're going to go into that space again. You need to go into this higher vantage point aspect of you, because it is only this aspect of you, your God self, which another way to say it is just the highest version of your higher self. This is the aspect of you that is the infinite, multidimensional aspect of you that is privy to all the moving parts of who you are, not contracted by your ego's level of perception, sees the aspects of you in multidimensional timelines, variations, variables of you, exploring different ways of being, things you're doing, things you're having, experiences, emotions you're exploring, contrast you're exploring. It is only the God self that has the purview of seeing all these things happening all at the same time. So you cannot do this work. Well, you can try, you'll be frustrated as hell, but you can try to do this from the ego self that deals in want and fear and lack. But you're going to do something really interesting if you try to do that. You're working with, when you're coming at this kind of work, which is on an infinite, boundless level where all timelines are existing simultaneously and are working simultaneously. If you're trying to come at this from the ego level of perception, you're going to shut down in your body, meaning it becomes too much. From the ego's vantage point, it's going to try to push this information away because it's going to feel like too much in the body. You're going to feel like pent-up energy, and you're going to feel like you want to explode. You're going to feel like you're starting to go crazy. You're going to feel a headache. You're going to have ascension symptoms. You're going to have maybe aches and pains in the body. You may develop a migraine. You may have throbbing in your temples. You might find your heart palpitating. Because the ego perception gets very frightened in this place because it will find all of this extremely unfamiliar and uncomfortable. You must go into the vantage point of you that already knows this stuff, that is already privy to what you're doing, the kind of information you're trying to suss out, and it's there to help you and guide you and assist you instead of try to shut the process down because it feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar. Okay? Again, the ego has no business doing this kind of work because it doesn't know what to do. It's just swinging in the wind. It has no idea how to work with this stuff. But your God self is doing this all the time. And so what you're doing is you're consciously tapping into a part of you that's already doing this work, is already exploring many different timelines and potentials, seeing what's out there, kind of trying on different timelines for size, if you will, okay? So when we're remote viewing different timeline potentials, essentially what we're doing is going through the Rolodex of timelines that you're exploring and sifting out, okay, well, which one is aligned with the highest and best good for me right now, the highest and best good for all, and involves the least amount of resistance for all involved. Only from your God self perspective can you suss out what that is, which is the God choice. Does that make sense? You're working, when you are doing timeline work, time jumping, time bending, timeline healing, you are working with a tool of elevated consciousness. So you must elevate your consciousness in order to tangibly work with this tool. And the easiest way to do that is to pop into and make it the focal point of your attention to be in your God self vantage point. Okay? Am I making sense so far? Does this jibe with where you're at? Are you getting me? Give me some hearts. I need to take your pulse out here. Who's alive? Who's listening? So I'd like you to get some water. And have a big sip of water. Now, I want you to develop a fixed point for yourself before we call in the God self. I want you to create a fixed point or a target for yourself to focus on here today, okay? And don't worry, I'm going to guide you through this entire thing. All you need to do is follow my instruction and listen to the sound of my voice. I am an excellent guide. I've been doing this work for a long time. I've been doing this work through many, many timelines and lifetimes of myself. So you are in good hands here. And we will ground this information at the end as well, okay? Hi, Tammy. Because you always need to be grounding this work, okay? Any work that you do that involves elevated consciousness and work with the higher realms or higher dimensional realities needs to be grounded in your physical. Otherwise, you're not fully in your body when you bring yourself back from the work. This is when accidents happen, okay? This is when we're not clear and we're not fully grounded in our body. We're not inserted back into our root and earth star chakra. This is when accidents happen, okay? We have to be in our body, all right? That's the energetic handshake of doing this work. We can go up and out and explore and go to all these places, but we are here in a body for a reason. It is the filter of our experience here, so we must bring this back down and unite these energies with the energetics of the body, okay? If you're not grounding when you're doing energy work, you're asking for trouble, okay? All right, there we go, some hearts. I love it, I love it, I love it. Who's ready to do some exploring? Let's go on a journey. And before we call the God Self in, the fixed point or the target I'm inviting you to focus on today and hone your attention in on today. It could be anything at all that you're desiring in your life right now. Maybe you're experiencing some chronic pain. I had a little incident this morning. I call it, I was in the shower and I bent over and I heard a little pop in my lower back. So I'm going to focus on a potential timeline where my back is fully healed and whole and flexible, okay? You may have a chronic pain. You may have a cold. You may have something that you would like to bring into your life. Maybe it's more money. Maybe you're trying to focus on a new living situation. Maybe you are focusing on a new life partner for yourself, a soulmate. It doesn't matter what it is. But if you have awareness of something that you desire, would like to have, and you feel like it would enrich your life in some way, that is what I invite you to focus on here today. It doesn't matter what it is, okay? So just get whatever that is, and if you feel you would like to, go ahead and write it down. You can write it down. My video is skipping. We've had a lot of power outages because of all the fires here in California. So they are doing some rolling power outages. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that we can keep this going. Okay. So now we need to shift our perspective, okay? I invite you first to speak to your ego. This always is so helpful because it stops unwelcome interference while you're doing this work. It stops you from going to that ego level of thinking where you shut the process down because you think you're just imagining what you're doing and it's not possible. Spoiler alert, you are imagining it. That's how this works, okay? But your ego is going to say, oh, you're just imagining things, whatever. You are absolutely imagining things, but the ego is going to think that's a bad thing, okay? And the ego is going to tell you, this is stupid what you're doing, you need to be paying this bill, or you need to call your mom, or you need to do whatever, blah, 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 blah. So the easiest way to connect in fully and make sure that you are in the full vantage point of your God self is to simply speak to your ego. Just like we did yesterday. You just call in your ego self. Notice what is top of mind for you right now. Is there a bill that you have to pay when you are done with this call? Is there a task at hand that you need to attend to? Maybe you said you would do it this morning and you didn't. You wanted to make time for this call. It's okay. You just need to call attention to this, whatever is top of mind, whatever is distracting for you. And you vow to yourself, you promise your ego self that you will get to this. right after this call is over, I promise I will attend to A through X and it'll get done. But you got to keep that promise, okay? So whatever is top of mind, whatever's distracting you at the moment, maybe if there's a doggy or a kitty in the room and it's distracting you, you may want to gently usher your four-legged friend out of the room so you won't be distracted by that as well. Here's the second, doggy or kitty goes crazy, then we go into that, like, why can't I ever have time for myself? That's ego, and that's a distraction, right? So remove anything that could potentially derail and interrupt this process, okay? I'll give you a second to do that while I get some more water. All right. Whew. And now feel yourself as you've kind of let yourself off the hook and unburdened yourself from whatever needs to be done. Feel how this brings in some clarity, some wholeness. Allows you to feel a little bit more present, okay? Just call in God, self, God, self, God, self. God, self, God, self, God, self. God, self, God, self, God, self. And just call in, along with that, all parts and pieces of you. Anywhere you are off exploring contrast, unwelcome contrast that you don't wish to be exploring, call these pieces in. Anywhere you fractured or fragmented parts of self, sent away parts of you, because maybe you deem them unworthy, if they felt like lower parts of self. Maybe you sent parts of you away out of shame or guilt. I want you to gently call these pieces and fractured and fragmented parts of self back to you now. Wash clean in source light. And imagine just calling these pieces back. You might see them as light filaments. Call them back into your heart space. Call them home to you. Call your wholeness back. This allows you to better focus your attention and your awareness because you don't have other parts of you off flitting and enjoying contrast elsewhere. You can call all these pieces home to you. Now you are in your full presence, your full awareness, and you can give this exercise your full focus and attention. So go ahead and close your eyes if they're not already. And again, just listen to the sound of my voice. I will guide you through. And just start breathing through the nose, inhaling, exhaling through the mouth. And with each breath in and out, just develop your own rhythm with this. Feel yourself becoming more connected to the wholeness of you. Feel yourself becoming more present, awake, aware. Notice the space that your body is taking up. Be okay with the space that you are taking up, the chair that you're sitting in, the space that you're occupying. Be aware of the dimensions of your body and the physicality, the location of you in space. And as you connect more and more with the breath, as you do this, you are connecting with your body in time. And the more and more you focus on the breath, the more and more you are focusing on the eternal now moment, the only moment. And this is taking you further and deeper and into a more expansive expression of the now. And calling in again, God, self, God, self, God, self. I now call in my highest God, sovereign self aspect. And just noticing how present and whole you feel You can feel the power of your body. It has almost like a tingling feeling to it. Like you can feel your own electricity. You can feel your own electromagnetic signature of you. Taking up space, occupying time. You as an individuated consciousness that is tapped into the consciousness of the whole. The entire fabric and tapestry of the unified field of mind. Feel into the vastness of this. You may see it as a tapestry. You may see yourself as a point of light in this tapestry that is woven of many, many, many points of light that are individuated levels of consciousness. A pen, a raccoon, your grandmother, your daughter, a radish. It is all consciousness. And the billions of points of light that you see spread out in all directions around you, you being the focal point at this moment in time, all hold their own timelines of being, as well as you do. Imagine the timeline that you are in at this moment, which is your now dominant timeline. Imagine it as a conveyance of energy that is similar to a column of light. And in front of your heart space or your solar plexus, whichever feels right, imagine this column of light spreading out in front of you, spreading out to an infinite degree in front of you. It is just a conveyance of energy that holds a similar frequency to the trajectory that you have been on. This is your now dominant timeline. This is where currently the bulk of your focus and your attention have been funding this timeline. But there are many, 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 many offshoot timelines that you now start to see as you focus on this conveyance, this column of light in front of you. Imagine branching off almost like tree branches to the left, to the right, above and below this now dominant timeline. These are all different potentials where you could be funding the bulk of your concentration, attention, and focus. They are all relegated to different possibilities, different potentials of you. Just focus on what you see. Focus on the experience of feeling into the branching out of these many, many timelines. If you find yourself being overwhelmed by this energy, simply say this mantra: I am bathed in the grace and the protection of God's light, or source light. This brings you back into your God self now, and your God self perspective, and allows you to expand into this vantage point instead of going into ego and going into contraction. And just breathe. You're not doing anything with these timelines, and there's no efforting here. There's no need to force anything. You are simply witnessing your own personal Rolodex of all of the different timelines and potentials and possibilities that exist for you as a multidimensional being. And in this now moment, you're expanding into this, you are witnessing this, you are having a real visceral experience with this. Just notice how it feels. There is no judgment needed here. If you find that this is difficult for you, simply breathe and let go. Let go of the need to force or effort anything here. And now go into that feeling of connecting into that desire that you have at this moment. A way of being, some physical object you would like to possess. Perhaps you are envisioning yourself in a relationship with someone, a friend, could be platonic, could be romantic. Anything you're desiring at this moment in time, if you have awareness of it, it is meant for you. And meant for you means that there is a timeline of potential that holds this conveyance of being. It is just not being funded by the bulk of your attention at this moment. It is not your current, now dominant timeline, in other words, but it can be. And as you focus on this potential, insert yourself doing the thing, feeling what it's like to have the thing, be in the relationship, have the physical object, possess the skill set, perhaps being involved in a task where you have a new business, you're driving the new car, you're looking at your online app of your bank account and seeing the money in there and feeling the feelings of connecting with this. Remember, the emotional anchor is what punctuates the flow of time, drops anchor for you into a potential that you can then explore further. Connect with the feeling. Drop emotional anchor. And as you insert yourself in this, what else are you doing? Make it a succession of events then, just as your own now dominant timeline and the conveyance of that you saw spread out in front of you is a succession of events continuing on with the same frequency. What is this frequency you're occupying when you feel into having, being, and doing the thing that would proceed with a succession of events going along the same trajectory of the feeling, having the same spectrum of frequency? This allows a timeline, or allows our experience of feeling a timeline spread out in front of us, continue on in a linear fashion in front of us. Insert yourself here doing other things. If it's a new car that you want, maybe you're talking about the car to someone. Maybe you're taking the picture of a car and sending it to a friend, saying, "See, I got the thing." You are a creative being because you are a creator being. So anywhere you are saying to yourself, "I can't do this, I can't imagine this," I invite you to draw back, invite the ego to excuse itself from this exercise because it can't offer any insight or advice, and then simply call in the God Self again. And you're just witnessing here. You're just watching, you're participating and creating at the same time. Feel into how fun this is. Pepper this with some appreciation and gratitude, because that only raises the frequency of this creative endeavor even more. And the longer you hold on to witnessing this, and without any judgment, if you're going into judgment, you are going into ego, and you need to, again, invite the ego to step down from this process. You don't want to smash it down or tell it to F off. You want to invite the ego to say, "You know what? This isn't your area of expertise. How about you bow out for a minute and I'll connect with you later on." Okay? Because whatever you resist persists, right? So don't try to smash the ego down. Just invite it to opt out for a bit. You promise to include it later. And the longer you stay with this, the more normalized it becomes. And so actually what you can do, the longer you stay with this without the ego's intervention, is make it more of a new normal for you. Because what you're doing is you're feeling into this, you are cueing the body to believe that this is your now dominant timeline, your now reality. And then the neural pathways are making new connections with the brain, saying, this is our normal. This is happening. Your brain doesn't make any distinction between imagining this and it being real. If the feeling is present in the body, that's as real as it gets. So be with this long enough and witness this long enough so that the feeling rises, expands, becomes more visceral, becomes more of a felt sensation of like, I know this is happening. I know this is happening because I feel it. And it is. It is you now funding this timeline where this potential exists. And the longer you stay with it, and the longer your point of attention and focus funds this timeline, the more real it becomes. Everything is through the heart, right? Yes. And the entire body. And the more you feel this in your entire body, the more you are giving the cues to the body to say, this is now my reality. Okay? Congratulations. You are remote viewing a timeline potential for you. Something you have deemed to be more desirable and preferable to your current reality is now, for all intents and purposes, as far as the body and the mind and your neural pathways are concerned, is your current reality. And the more you go into this every day and feel into this, and I'm going to give you a very special opportunity to take this further tomorrow in day 3 when we close this workshop out, to make this even more tangible, even more real, even more visceral, allow you to fund even more energy into this becoming your actual, real, now dominant timeline. So finish this energy out with some appreciation and some gratitude for your God self, and yes, even your ego, for giving you the benefit of the doubt to play with this potential and not interfere too much. And the more you do this work, the ego interferes less and less, by the way. So if you make this a daily practice, and you can see how quick and easy this can be once you get used to the steps, you can do this for 5 minutes a day. I do this 5 minutes a day several times throughout my day. And this is something that allows you to profoundly go into your creator being status and know all of the power that exists there. So for those of you who are feeling powerless in your life right now, helpless or hopeless, that it's the world against you, that is never the truth, I guarantee you. Our whole process of understanding our entire reality is an inside-out process. It's never outside in. So whatever is going on in your internal reality will be mirrored in your external reality. So if you see nothing but turmoil and chaos and division outside, where is that existing within you? That must be addressed first and foremost. And just as you have the potential to go within, because all of this, even though you're seeing it projected outside of you, this is all happening within. It always and never is. I recently felt that message so deeply. Yes, Tammy. When I feel into it, I go back and forth between fear and resistance and the good expansive feeling of what I desire. And the more you play with this, Amy, the less resistance you will feel. Because if you're doing this just as a one-off thing once a year, of course you're going to feel fear. Of course you're going to feel resistance. It's not familiar to you. But if you do this every day, give yourself time, prioritize this. If you're not prioritizing the time for you to be a creator being of your reality, what are you prioritizing then? So if you can just give yourself 5 or 10 minutes every day to prioritize this aspect and vantage point of view to be able to be in charge of your destiny, I guarantee you will have much different results in your external reality. I guarantee that every time. I've seen this happen in the Timelines courses that I've taught, and in the way that I deal with my clients when I do timeline healing and one-on-one sessions, every single time. But you must prioritize this work for yourself. I got to keep riding this pony. Absolutely. Put a saddle on her. Make her nice and pretty. So now let's begin to, as we pepper this with a little gratitude, appreciation, thank your God self, thank your ego self. Thank the unified field that holds all potentials that can ever, will ever, have ever existed. And now begin to gently pull your energy back. You can pull your energy back either into your solar plexus, which is your place of will and determination, or into your heart, whatever feels more aligned for you. But pull this energy gently back. And feel how now you're more expanded in your body. Okay? And now just gently bring this energy down from the heart, all the way down through the body, out through the soles of the feet, down through all the layers of the earth, and deep into the crystalline core of Mother Earth. And just saying, I am grounded, I am grounded, I am grounded. Allow yourself to feel connected back into your root chakra. You can imagine like plugging yourself back into your Earth Star chakra, especially if you feel you're still kind of out there. Just go ahead and put your feet on the ground, connect with the ground. Connect with the electromagnetic energy of the earth, the frequency of the earth. Feel how this connects with the similar frequency of the brain. Just imagine plugging in wherever you can. You could take your pulse on your wrist if that helps you to feel more grounded. Sometimes that helps me. Put your hand on your heart. And you can keep saying, I'm grounded, I am grounded, I am grounded, until that feels more connected for you. And now, have some water and tell me how that was. This is the way we connect when we do the work in Timelines Expanded. This is the way we connect when we are merging timelines, which you're going to have an experience of tomorrow. It's going to bring this process around full circle. This is how we connect when we collapse timelines. And by the way, if the Timelines Expanded program is not a commitment you can make at this time, I have a Collapsing Timelines micro course that you can take. It's $89 and it includes the first 2 modules of Timelines Expanded Masterclass. And it includes collapsing timelines. So let me see. I can give you the link for that if you wanted to check that out. But it is an absolutely great deal right now to get this temporary price drop on Timelines Expanded Masterclass. You're going to love it. What is it? Okay. This is the link for that. For the Collapsing Timelines micro course. I feel really good. My mind is difficult to harness currently, but I'll keep working on it. Yeah, the more you do this, practice is everything. The more you do this, the more habituated you become to it. And the ego resistance falls away more and more because it becomes more normal. Anything that becomes more normal and familiar to you, you're going to have less ego interference with. That's true of anything. Felt amazing in every fiber of my being. Awesome. Thanks for all the freebies. I love everything you do. Thanks, Amy. Let's see what else. That was a wonderful feeling, and I turned around and saw a deer in the backyard, so I sent her love and gratitude, grounding and reconnecting to earth. What a beautiful vision, right? And the deer, it always reminds us to be gentle with ourselves, right? So that's a beautiful, beautiful vision. Let's see. Why can't I see all the comments? I guess that was really all of them. Felt amazing. Love this so much. When I tapped into the potential, I was on my own land. Ooh, I love that. With chickens, goats, horse, herbal garden, regular garden, a pond. I saw an underground space that was under a huge boulder to keep all my things cool. Oh, that's awesome. What a cool vision. Thanks for sharing that, Heidi. Jante says, I can feel it so vividly, having breakfast with my soulmate partner, then a beautiful session with a client in a poetic town. Oh, that's lovely. And the sky's the limit. Guys, whatever you want to use this for, it is such a simple tool. So you've got bragging rights now. You can go tell everybody you know or anybody who cares that you got to remote view potential timelines today. How cool is that? And you can see the more you practice with this, how it's going to just get easier for you and can be second nature. And it's limitless and boundless what you want to use this for in terms of creating your reality. And that's why I love exploring this so much. So we're going to bring this into a more concretized practice tomorrow. So we're going to go back into this space again. You can either work with the same desire or you can work with something else tomorrow. We're going to meet at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow for our final session here. And we're going to merge this timeline into your now dominant timeline. How cool is that? So thanks for being here, you guys. Again, thank you for being such brave explorers and being so polite and kind and patient as I walk you through these processes. It's so much fun to share this work. I'm so passionate about Timelines work. And if you want to take this further, I highly, highly recommend getting in Timelines Expanded Masterclass, especially at this temporary price drop. Not only does it allow you to get the replays from the last live round, and you'll have access to all of those. You got plenty of time to explore those 12 modules through the end of 2021. And you reserve a spot for yourself in the next live round, which begins January 2022. It should be around the 20th of January in 2022. So super exciting, super fun. We're going to explore so much new content in the next live round. So if this grabs you in all the right places, I highly recommend coming and playing in this workshop and in the masterclass. Thanks, everybody. So much fun. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Mwah. Love and peace.